friends of the internet. Welcome to General Nerdcast, episode number 67. Today we're going to be doing our general review hand cast.
Yes.
Are you casting spells?
Yes.
Oh, cast. I get it now. That's why we call them these. We cast spells.
Yes.
I put a spell on you.
Chibi chop.
And now you're mine. I wanted one of you guys to finish it.
No, I was thinking about it.
Anyway, today we're going to do a general review cast. We're going to be reviewing the show Food Wars, this first season. Not the whole thing, because that's a lot to watch.
Tis.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
you were looking around. I thought you were looking for something. Freaking me out, man. Anyway, I'm a failure and I didn't get to watch the whole thing. So they're going to do most of the talking, and I'm just going to comment on what I know.
Okay. Start us off. This
Okay.
is Casey.
Hello.
He is Casey.
This is Bobby.
This is the Bob.
Hello.
Nice.
Ow, that hurt my neck.
Your hair's all glowy too.
Oh.
And I am Tyler.
Diller?
And we shall review the Food Wars.
Yes. So, I'll just talk about the premise real quick, because I know that much.
Okay.
Food Wars began as a show that about a kid trying to save his restaurant that he ran with his father, and it turned into a show that he goes to school and learns how to cook better.
Yeah.
Also, I feel like I can cook better now.
Yes.
It's a pretty inspiring show. It definitely made me hungry while watching it. You
I'm hungry
'cause
again.
Cooking shows
Cookie
do that.
show.
Cookie
Oh.
show.
Cookies.
Cookie Monster.
Cooking shows do that. At least to me. I'm sure it does it to a few other people, but whenever
At
I
least
watch,
3 others, I'm sure.
but it's also the kinkiest cooking show you'll ever watch.
Big time.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of fan service.
A ton of it.
Pretty much every episode of fan service.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, every episode he kind of goes through like his own like cooking challenge. Almost every episode. I think there's 1 or 2 so far that I've seen that he didn't have a food challenge or a cooking challenge. It was like the start of one where he's like, "I challenge you," or like, "You're gonna do this next."
Yeah,
that kind of
kinda.
situation.
Yeah.
Like there's only 1 or 2 of those that I can think of. But essentially, he goes through every episode and has a food challenge, which is the only downside to the show. Say that right now, is that it did feel like it was getting repetitive. It was like, okay, he's gonna get a food challenge. They're gonna do it. Everything's gonna be great. It's gonna be
Right.
awesome. It's gonna be a lot of fun. But like, cooking is like his superpower, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, kind of.
So
He's-
Yeah,
No, no.
he's definitely
He's a great cook. His name's Soma
Yukihara.
Yukihara. Thank you. I always screw up his last name. He's the main character. Keeps a white cloth tied around his wrist, and whenever he gets serious for cooking,
He rips it off.
rips it off.
it's his left.
It's always left. It's in his left hand.
yeah, because he's right-handed.
Yes.
Whips it off. It's always blowing in the wind, no matter where he's at.
And he's like,
Even inside,
water up.
it's blowing in the wind.
because anime.
Yes.
And he ties it on his head, and it's going down.
Yeah, he's like ready.
Yeah,
That's
it's
his power up.
yeah, it's like the equivalent of Ash Ketchum turning his hat backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where he's like,
Definitely.
all right, dual
Let's
time,
go."
bitch. Blastoise.
There's a lot of different characters. Further in you get, they introduce more and more characters.
Per
right now.
usual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really made me want to like just go into the kitchen and try and cook something. Like, all right, well, I'm gonna fry up some of these, and put them together, and just.
It definitely gives you false self-confidence that you can cook, because they're like, they explain how it's done, and you're like, I could do that.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
not that hard.
Yeah. But like, you don't know the portions, you don't know like anything else. They're just like, this is exactly how we made it, and you're like, you
I
know
got
what?
this.
I can do this.
Yeah. All right. I can make that dish. I mean, it ain't gonna look
Apparently-
as good.
Apparently, Evan
Yes.
says he can do it.
Yeah, he said he can cook the very first episodes.
Yeah, the very first episode that he cooks for the
like the pork
For the
or
lady.
For the
whatever.
lady, yeah.
Yeah.
the pork, but not pork, like the pork potato bacon thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
The bacon roast potato wrap.
Mm-hmm.
Pork.
Looks amazing, by the way.
Yeah.
It does.
All of that
That-
looks so good. Like, I'm just watching it, I'm like, I want to eat it.
Most of the food looks good. There's a few of them where I'm like,
Oh, his
I would try it.
his bad creations.
No,
Yes.
not only that. There's a few later on that are like, it don't look great. I'd still eat it or try.
Dude, that rice bowl that he made in that episode.
Oh, yeah.
Fuck.
Oh, yeah.
Just thinking about it makes me hungry. But yeah, this show is actually really amazing. They have a lot of main characters. His dad is a reoccurring character, but you don't see a ton of him.
He's kind of more like reoccurring in more of a memory sense than an actual like him showing up, because he left Japan to go cook in America and all over the world.
Yeah, he
if I remember
travels the
that
world.
correctly. Yeah, yeah.
It's like a traveling chef.
He's like a traveling super chef.
Yeah, I love the way he left too. He's just like,
okay,
something happened? Oh, just, some rowdy customers. Okay, well, just to let you know, the shop's going to open back up in 3 years.
Yeah,
And just
wait,
walks inside.
It's like, good luck, I'm packing up and leaving. Like, you're a middle school kid, so you figure it out.
As soon as I'm done,
anime.
as soon as I'm done packing, I'm leaving.
Yeah, bye.
Wait, what?
He's like, here, you could like try and go to this school, and yeah, so he basically like gets to you. He starts walking to the school, and he's like, I don't need no cooking school, and he gets there, and like everybody's so cutthroat, and the first kid he runs into is like, yeah, my house, like my family runs like one of the biggest restaurants in the world, yada yada, and he's like, wait, you just run a diner? Like, get the hell away from me.
Yeah, he like kicks him off the bench that he's sitting on, and he's like, you're not good enough to sit on the bench with me.
Right. But so it's like all these transfer students go to do a test thing, and one of the other main characters, Arena?
Yeah, Arena.
Yeah.
Something.
Hikari?
Something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Which later in the show you find out who she is, and the show gets nuts. But she's like, yeah, I'm the judge, and apparently she has the most powerful palate in the world, and she can determine how good food is. They call her the god tongue.
I want to use
the
word
show.
sensitive, not powerful.
Okay, sensitive.
That works.
Powerful would be
a
different term.
I feel like it's kind of, but yeah,
sure,
you're going.
enough,
You're going.
Close enough. So,
Keep cruising. I just wanted to.
Yeah, clear.
Sensitive
palate. So like she comes in, she's like, yeah, I'm the judge, and like everybody, she's like, okay, either you cook for me or you'll never, like, you can leave now and try again next year, or like if I fail you, you're done. So everybody runs out except for Soma, because he's like, I don't know you, so I don't really care. He's like, I'll cook for anyone. And so she's like, here, make me an egg dish. And he comes up with some crazy popcorn-looking egg dish
like,
thing.
and like the sauce like melts because it's a cube.
Yeah. And she's like, this looks gross. And he's like,
so
no, put it over the top of rice. And like she eats it. And, every time people eat food in this show, they, like, basically have, like, a giant orgasm, I guess. Because they're like,
either either that or they eat Soma's really terrible creation.
Yeah, that's
and they get molested by tentacle monsters.
Yes, they do. But, so basically he's like, all right, well, you liked it, right? And she goes, no, this is disgusting. And she, like, runs out and she, like, calls her grandpa?
I think she called like the administration to be like, nobody passed.
Yeah, she goes, no one passed.
Her grandpa was hiding and watching, and then came out and tried it, and then passed him and made him, like, pushed his paperwork through, and he's like, no, this is great.
By the way, grandpa runs the entire school. And and a little more info on the school, it's massive. Like, takes up an entire, it's like basically its own city. Like, it takes up a whole mountain. There's like multiple buildings and dorms and
hotels and restaurants.
It's really
it's crazy.
It's insane how big this place is.
Japanese schools, man.
Yeah, I guess that's how it is.
Yeah. I think it goes throughout. He's kind of shows, I guess more in the second season it starts showing more of his past, but we won't get into that as much.
Right.
True. But he basically he starts meeting all the characters, and basically he wants to challenge practically everyone he talks to.
Right.
Well, he was the only transfer student, so he got to give like a little speech. And, he practically challenged the whole school. Where he's like, I'm just doing this. School's more of like a stepping stone for me. I mean, I'm just here because I'm just gonna come take the top spot, and everybody like freaks out, and everybody in the school hates him right off the bat because he says this. But he so far he's kind of proven that he is the best chef there. So.
In ways.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
Well, that's what I mean. Like,
So far, yes, he has.
Yeah, see?
But the more like he kind of after his first class, then tries to go to his dorm. Do we want to talk about the first class or no?
I don't even remember it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
like,
I was just gonna say.
I don't think it was that memorable. But
Yeah, basically.
Oh yeah, the
Oh,
chef,
he
the chef that
teams
never
up
smiles.
with the
that's
chef
when he
that
meets what's
Yeah.
her face.
Yeah.
meets
Megumi.
and she's the most shy, nervous person ever.
Yeah.
And she's like, I hope I don't have to talk to that person. And they get put on the same team for a cooking challenge. And
Now they're best friends.
they're best
Yay.
friends, and their food actually gets sabotaged in like the first 10 minutes because somebody just poured a bunch of salt on their meat. And they end up restarting, recooking, and making the chef that never smiles smile.
Yeah.
Yeah, he uses crazy cooking techniques that nobody knows.
Yeah, nobody
so-
thinks of or whatnot.
Yeah. And he wins because he's the best.
Yeah. So after that first class, he goes and kind of gets put in a dorm that seems run down and neglected. Like it looks like a haunted house when he first comes up to it.
Yeah, like from the outside it looks terrible.
Yeah. But after he gets accepted into that dorm and
That
starts
cooking challenge is cool, by
Yeah.
the way.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, you're supposed to
bring
yeah, like you need to cook your own meal here. And he's like, well, I didn't realize that. And she's like, well, it's in the rules. She's like, well, you can use the leftovers in the kitchen, but that's not going to work. And he's like, no, let me, please. And
Yeah,
he
that-
cooks with leftovers, and she's like blown away and is like, okay, you can.
That like fan service
that
scene was so funny.
bad.
It was so
She's an
funny.
old lady. And
Yeah,
like,
but like in like
Oh my
the like the
God.
cutscene of her like tasting the food, she turns into like a young girl and like she like goes over to try to like kiss him, and then it like cuts back into like what's actually happening, and she's like, he's like, get away from me.
yeah, stay away.
So
Yeah, that one's pretty good. I forgot about that actually.
so we start talking about the challenge, but
yeah, then he learns. He starts meeting all his dorm mates, and learns that it actually kind of used to be one of the more prestigious dorms, and it's kind of fallen out of that setting. It still has a really nice kitchen and whatnot, but it's not what it used to be. Kind of.
nothing is anymore.
Right.
And, you know, they party.
Yeah. And he finds out
Hell
Megumi
yeah.
is in there too.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, nice, you're in this dorm too. You know, did it take you your first try? And she's like, doesn't answer, and she's like talking to herself. She's like, it took me 3 months to get into this dorm.
Yeah.
Like challenging every day, 3 months to get into
Yeah.
this dorm, and he like does it first try with leftovers. So
Yeah, and then that's kind of when you start learning more about the 10.
Yeah.
Because there's the 10 best.
the elite 10.
Yeah, the elite 10 best chefs in the school. He's actually dormed up with number 7, and
who's awesome character.
yeah,
By the way.
Yeah.
he's great.
He's
but
basically
Irina,
naked, but-
Irina, is that her name?
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah, she's number 10.
Yeah.
So I like this. His dorm mate is great because he always just gets naked and wears like just an apron.
Yeah.
awesome.
And he does this weird like butt shake thing, but like when he does it, it makes it look like he's farting. It's like I feel like the air like poofs out. Did you guys
That's
ever think of that?
okay,
Where like,
no, I
where like
didn't.
he
I
shakes
didn't.
and he goes swish, and then like it looks like air poofs out, and I'm like,
Oh no,
like,
I didn't
shit,
notice
is
that.
he
that.
farting? Like
Oh,
I don't
God.
get it. But yeah, he's always naked and he's really funny and he's great.
Oh.
But he's number 7, and then they have like their own cooking challenge and they call it a draw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like after the cooking challenge is done, like one of the other dorm mates is talking to the number 7 guy. I forgot his name. And he's like,
It's
"Why
like
did
a
you?"
Shiki or something
He's like, "Why
that.
did
Yeah, I
you
think that's his
cook
last
like
name.
some really mediocre meal against him?" He's like, "You know, you have like really good meals that you could put up." And he's like, "Oh, I didn't feel like I really needed to, or whatever." But
Yeah.
yeah, basically,
He says, I don't know what you're talking about, and then like walks
oh
away.
yeah. But like basically, Soma's pretty good, and like this guy's like, yeah, Soma can freaking cook. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
but moving on, there's a thing called, what is the challenge called again?
The food war?
When they
Or-
challenge each other in the
Food
school.
wars.
Yeah, I believe
Well,
it's
no,
actually just a food
Yeah,
war.
it's food war.
Well, they had like a term for it, like a It's not like a gauntlet or something, but anyway, they had like a term for like their challenge, and when you challenge someone in this show, like you have to offer up something, and they offer up something, so like it
No,
could
yeah,
be...
it's just called Food War. That's what they call it.
Oh,
They call it
okay.
the Food War.
Yeah.
But basically, like, it has to be something like, well, I'll give up my, like, practice kitchen, and you have to, like, leave the school if you lose, so...
Yeah, challenges like that, basically, they have to have something of equal worth to put up against each other.
Sure. So, like, Soma's like, yeah, I want to challenge the number 7 seat. And the guy's like, well, you can't really do that because even if you, like, put up you leaving the school, it's not as worthy as me putting up my seat. Like, the seat for the Elite 10 is worth more than you being kicked out of the school. So,
yeah, you have to put up something of equal value. One of the teachers has to approve that you're worthy to challenge the other person.
And they have to have their own judges. You have to bring your own odd number of judges.
Yeah, you have to bring an odd number of judges. Or like the 3 stipulations of being able to challenge somebody to a food war.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But yeah, basically that's kind of like the whole idea of the show is them kind of like challenging each other. I suppose if the show went on long enough that Soma would eventually get into the Elite 10, but this is like a 30-something episode show and it doesn't progress super fast, so it doesn't ever really get to that point. Anyway, let's get back to season 1, not getting too far ahead of ourselves here.
You already blew it.
My bad. I watched the whole show in like 3 days, so it's awesome.
Yeah, I think I just have like 12 episodes left, so...
Yeah. They could easily turn this into a multi-100 episode anime.
Yeah.
I think. I mean, short of the action not being too crazy, you know, it's not like the cooking's all kind of like a fight, and like Soma's just sitting there like chopping at like 1,000,000 miles an hour and like cooking stuff and like, but it's not like they go Super Saiyan or anything.
Well, the good news is there's a 3rd season.
Yeah, good.
Coming out.
Awesome. I can't wait. So I will be announced.
Season 3 is
fall.
announced for fall.
Yes.
Yeah, it was announced in June, so
Nice.
I will be watching it.
Cool.
So don't get your hopes up that it's not going to be 100 episodes.
Okay, I won't. Just like Hunter x Hunter is supposed to come back out this year, but I know that's a different anime. We're not going to get into that one.
We can talk about it.
Another great one. We can. I mean, that's a good one too. But
Tell me more about Ahsoka.
yeah, right.
Anyway,
oh my
Food
gosh.
Wars.
Back to Food Wars.
I don't want to get too caught up in Hunter x Hunter because I could probably talk about that all day. I don't remember where we were.
We were at him.
We talked
getting
about
him
the
with dorms, and then we talked about the fights.
Yeah, how he got
Food Wars, yeah.
introduced to the Food Wars. The next one, he kind of looks for an after-class activity just because it helps with cooking training and all sorts of stuff. And he gets interested in one called Bolsec.
Yeah, the Bowl Society, but he's short. The guy who runs it calls it Bolsock.
Yeah, Bolsock or something like that.
And he's the Don.
Yeah, he's the Don of rice bowls.
And basically, he's underway of getting shut down.
Yeah, because it's not rice bowls aren't worthy enough for this school.
Yes.
Me.
Basically, the seat of 10 and the director of the school and everything believe that you have to be the best of the best and perfect quality and whatnot, so rice bowls aren't considered perfect quality food and shouldn't be in the running, so they're trying to shut down small inefficient foods or whatnot.
Right. Well, they don't we forgot to mention that this whole school is like made for just finding out who the elite chefs are. So like it's like a 1%er show where, like 1,000 people enter in the class and then like 50 of them make it to the second year, so they like constantly are cutting people out of the school. So like that kind of backstories for like why they're trying to get rid of like this extra group of bowl cookers.
Kenichi Konishi is the runner of the Bolsec. Bolsock.
Konishi.
Yeah. That's what I was looking for.
Nice.
But yeah,
so basically Arena's lackey, which her name was, I just had it.
Her name is Big Boobs.
Yeah,
Indeed.
she's like the meat. She's a meat lover.
Akumi Mito.
Yeah, so she like comes in and is like, I'm gonna challenge you guys. If I win, you have to shut down this school or shut down like this building so that we can have another test kitchen. And Soma's like, hell no. Okay, I'll challenge you, and if I win, you have to join this the group, the bull sack.
Yeah, she has to join the Bull Society.
Right. So they do a cook-off, and Ikumi is like heiress to like the biggest meat like supplier or empire, sure. So she's like gonna bring in, and they do a challenge on meat, and she brings in like A5, which is like the highest grade like steak or whatever to do, and Soma uses like flank steak or like a Salisbury steak or like like $8,
Yeah,
he spent like $1,000 on a piece of meat.
That scene is great because it goes through this whole thing where she's like cutting up this giant cow and it's like A5 super meat.
Yeah,
and then it goes to him and he pulls out this like grocery bag and then
he has discount.
Yeah,
discount
he like pulls the meat out and it's like 50% off. Yeah. He's like, what? I got it on sale.
Yeah. If I'm going to say it right now, I think that right there is my favorite scene. Just because he pulls it out of the bag, he looks at it, he's like, oh, hey, I got it on sale.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't even realize it was on sale.
But, so they do their cooking challenge. Needless to say, Soma kicks her butt, even though she uses, like, super quality meat.
Yeah.
That happens, so she has to join the group. Arena's like, you're done, I'm done with you, like, I don't want to talk to you anymore, because she's a total elitist, which I guess is kind of his, like, rival in the show, I suppose would be Arena, because they like, have a bunch of run-ins.
Her and Takumi Aldini.
Yeah, Takumi, too. That's another fun character. You run into a lot of, like, people who, after meeting Soma, pretty much say, yeah, he's my rival. By the third season, like 5 different people like claim that he's his rival, and he's just like, I don't think of any of you that way. He's like, I'm just here to like,
I'm here to learn and just be the best,
get better, so that I can beat my dad.
Yeah.
I guess that's the whole premise of the show. Yeah, he wants to be a better chef than his dad is.
And, he wants to be a better chef than his dad is, so his dad will accept him to be able to run the Yukihara shop.
Their family restaurant.
We didn't even get into like the first episode. They start off, and him and his dad actually have a cook-off with each other. He loses pretty miserably, and his dad's like, "What? We got to be getting close to 500 wins, right?" And he's like, "No, it's 489-0." So like, Soma's this amazing cook in the show, and he can't even come close to beating his dad at this point. So
yeah,
that's kind of like the premise why he made him go to the school, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, that I feel like there's something behind all of that.
There is.
Yeah.
You haven't gotten that far yet.
Yeah. Told you.
I'm not gonna say anything.
Don't.
I won't. You need to watch the whole show.
I'll watch you.
Only if you want.
Wow.
That's pretty hard.
All right. So we're going to do that. This is...
Naked, what?
But yeah, so the next portion of the show, I think they do like a filler kind of.
Yeah.
A little bit, and then it jumps into the next kind of challenge thing, but it's the whole first year class instead of just... Soma and someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, basically they have to go through Hell Week.
Yeah.
And if they don't...
Camp.
Yeah.
Sure.
To what was it, for friendship or something?
Yeah, friendship camp. Which instead they end up like kicking out half of the... They end up firing half the class.
Yeah.
Like 500 people. But yeah, every day they do a challenge... or like multiple challenges, and like each challenge is like whatever, cook this with this, or like you have to go out in the woods and find your own ingredients. That one was actually pretty cool.
Yeah,
where they had to go and like find their own ingredients,
the Japanese cuisine
little shop area. But yeah, so they do all that, and it's like every other person fails, or even more. Like it's like a couple people from each group end up passing.
Yeah.
And that's where what was his name again? Takumi.
Takumi, yeah.
Yeah,
Takumi Aldini.
So Takumi
And his twin brother, Fat Boy Aldini.
Yeah,
God
Fat
damn
Boy.
it,
I
Sami.
forgot his name.
Asami Aldini.
Is it Sami?
But
You just missed him.
they finally end up in the same class with Soma, and they're like,
yeah,
I'm
there he
gonna I'm gonna smoke you at this challenge. And so the teacher's like, yeah, you guys can take like fishing poles and you can collect any herbs you want. So like everybody goes out and they're like panicking because they only have so much time to do this.
Yeah, they have 2 hours to find all of the ingredients and then make something.
Yeah, so Takumi shows back up. They're the first ones done, and he shows up with a duck,
Mm-hmm.
and they cook duck, and like everybody else is like making fish, like grilled fish. So like
Yeah.
the teacher's like, I'm sick of grilled fish, and Soma and Megumi, they end up making fish, but he ends up frying fish. And the teacher's like, how did you make the batter for that? And he like, you know, goes through the whole process of like, yeah, I made mushrooms and like all this other crap to make the batter. But yeah, they're the only two who pass because everybody else made grilled fish. And the teacher's like, I am so sick of grilled fish right now.
Yeah.
She's like, this is disgusting. But
Yeah, the Hell Week gets more interesting as they barely give them any breaks in between one challenge to another. Pretty much right after they finish their first day's challenge, they have to cook for, was it wrestling teams?
It was a wrestling team, like a body weight lifting team. Body weight lifting team?
Body
Something
weight
like that.
lifting.
and then like
That's not a
elderly, and then like an elderly group too.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, okay, in 8 hours, you guys need to have breakfast prepared for at least 200 people.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like, everybody's like, wait, we've been going all day. Like, I want to sleep. So the main guy, Dojima?
Yeah,
The
I think so.
He was
The
the
director
former
guy of
the
the-
former number one of the school when he went.
Yeah.
And he's like the biggest bigwig in food in the world, like, according to this show. He like runs like some corporation's food.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, so you guys can either spend all night trying to come up with your meal or get sleep. Like, there's no like two-way to it. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So anyway, next morning everybody wakes up and they do their breakfast thing, and the whole thing is you have to serve 200 servings to like this giant group of people,
Yeah.
and if you serve at least 200, you pass. So, you know, like everybody makes their own thing. Arena does eggs Benedict, and like everybody who eats it's like, oh my god, this thing's amazing. She's right next to Soma,
Yeah.
and Soma decided to remake.
Gin Dojima.
We were pretty close.
Yeah, he was,
Um,
that's what I was looking for. I was like, fuck, what is his name?
But Soma decided to make a like omelet with a different texture where everybody else is like making their own fancy thing because they're like, you need to
Yeah.
entice people to come over. So there's like a half hour left, and Soma has had nobody come over. So he like coaxes one person into coming over, and he's all flashy with the way he cooks. So like more people start coming over to watch him make these omelets, and you know, with like 3 seconds left, he serves his 200th serving. So, you know,
Yeah.
He
barely,
almost failed.
He almost failed. Of course, you know, this is a show about him. So had he failed, you know, the show would probably just end right
End
there.
or- yeah.
But, like, you
Show's
know,
over.
It's kind of one
Failed.
of those, you know, he's gonna make it, but like they try to make it a really tense situation.
Yeah. And that's kind of where I guess our cutoff point is. It's like right around the end of the.
Yeah, I think there's like just the one more
Yeah.
with Megumi.
Yeah, their challenge was actually, I think it was before the breakfast, wasn't it? Or
That's
Yeah, it
right
was-
after.
It was
Oh.
before the breakfast.
Oh, no, it was. Then,
Yeah.
Then I just jumped into the
Yeah,
second season.
that's okay.
there. My bad.
Yeah, so he goes into a food war with one of the instructors of Hell Week,
it's okay.
that
We
they
can
go
cover the
into-
whole week.
yeah.
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 and Megumi. He basically fails Megumi because she didn't have cauliflower that was great, but she
Good.
made it great by using different ingredients. But he was pissed that she changed his recipe,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
he was like, "You fail," but she shouldn't have.
Right.
So-
'Cause she made a good meal.
Yeah, so
yeah.
Soma gets pissed and he's like, "No, fuck that."
I challenge you.
Yeah, he's like, I challenge you to a food war, and if I win, then she gets to stay. And then he was like, you're not worth my time. And then Gene, the director guy, goes, you know what? We can do it.
Yeah,
I want
cool.
to see what happens. So they do it, and the stipulations are that if Soma and Megumi win, then she gets to stay, but if they lose, then they both are gone. And then an added stipulation that the director guy adds is that Megumi is the chef.
Yeah, and that Soma can't be
yeah.
like the lead.
Yeah,
because
he
the
can't,
whole show
help her do
been...
any of the recipes and stuff.
Right.
So.
Because the whole show, Megumi's kind of just been like his sous chef. He's like, why don't we try this and do this? You just like chop up shit. And so she's like, you know, so she decides the recipe. Soma's like, you know, can't say anything. You can't do anything except be like, okay, here, like, this is ready. This is ready.
Yeah. He's the perfect sous chef. Because he has stuff ready that she didn't even know that she needed yet. She goes, oh, I haven't started this yet. And he's like, hey, this is done.
Yeah, what do you want next? And
what should I do next? This or this?
Yeah,
is this good enough? Yeah.
Jin Dojima is like, holy cow, like this dude's like on his stuff, you know.
Yeah, they're all very impressed with his sous chefing.
And when he finds out his name Yukihara, he's like, oh, okay, that makes some sense.
Yeah.
So further on into the show, you find out why, but
yeah.
We're not going to touch on that because it's not ready
It's so good.
Bitch.
I watched the whole thing.
I know you did.
Good.
Well, sort of, because there's another season coming up.
I have a couple episodes left.
Yeah. So, do we want to rate it right now, or do we just kind of want to do an overview? Because that's pretty much the first.
Yeah,
season.
that's about.
We can rate the first season how we feel about it so far.
Okay.
It's a review in progress, but we'll give our thoughts so far.
Yeah. All right. So who wants to start off? Who?
I'll do it.
Okay.
9 out of 10.
9 out of 10?
Yep. Top 5 favorite anime ever. The only reason I'm not giving it a perfect score because it does have all the elements that I would like: humor, fan service, food, and good characters, I guess.
Yeah.
I'll give them that. Yeah. The only problem I have is what I kind of touched on earlier, where I just feel like
a lot of.
I feel like it's already too predictable. Like I'm gonna go into the episode, some funny stuff's gonna happen. They're gonna get into a food challenge. Gonna see half naked ladies, and then they're gonna party.
Yeah.
Like but
it's fairly repetitive.
I'm not gonna say that it's super repetitive to the point where I can't watch it, but I know what's gonna happen, but I want to see it happen still.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, I think I'm going for the same rating. I'm at like a 9 out of 10, just because. You do see a lot of the repetitiveness really early on, and it does continue, but it does get better later on too.
Yeah, and it like I can't stress enough that the repetitiveness should never deter you from this because it is predictable on what's going to happen, but at the same time, it's always different.
Yeah.
So
plus it probably. I'm not going to say it's going to be like your exact guide to cooking, but it might actually teach you like different ways to try and experiment with cooking.
Right.
I feel like I can cook better now.
I think it's very inspirational towards cooking and whatnot. And just, there's a lot of stuff. We'll go after you do your review, but there's a lot of different things I want to talk about on just like an overview.
Yeah. I would say same, at least. 9 out of 10. This is a top 5 anime for me too. I would rank it up there with some of my favorites for sure. Mm-hmm. The excitement level that this show brings, it's like every single episode, like when someone eats food, it's just like, oh, like I had legit laughed watching this show. I cried like once or twice from laughing too hard. And
I was gonna say,
no, there's not really any.
If
sad
this gets
moments.
super emotional, I'm out.
No, there's not really any super sad moments, but like this show is great. I would highly recommend watching this, like more so than the last two that we did.
Oh, for sure.
Like
bar none, this one is
leaps and bounds better.
Yeah.
I think. And Castlevania was pretty cool. So.
Yeah, when are we getting more of that?
I know, I can't wait.
Eventually.
I want to watch more
Eventually.
We're getting it eventually.
I like that idea.
Yeah. The way they react to the food is probably one of the greatest things. One of my favorite things, although I'm sad we didn't get more of it, was when Arena tastes food, like her descriptions for how things taste are so ridiculous. Like, it's so funny, like, how big or how much the descriptions change, or like, oh, well, I'm just walking up onto the beach and I get stopped by a train trying to cross the train tracks on the beach that are run by bears or whatever.
What was the one where she gets, like, she has to eat with a gorilla or something?
Oh, she is in a hot tub with a gorilla.
Yeah, that's what it was. That's what it was.
Gorillas. Yeah.
Basically, every time someone eats food, like, you know, like a scene happens, and it'll be like, oh, I feel like I'm, like, floating through the air, and there's butterflies touching me, or, like, I feel like I'm being caressed by, like, a giant donut. Like, you know, there's a lot of ridiculousness when it comes to... I think that's probably, like, why this show is so good, because when they eat the food, everybody has, like, a story of, like, how they feel when they eat it. Which I've never eaten anything in my life and been like, yeah, I feel like I'm like sitting in a hot tub.
I've never had any kind of food ever that made me feel any of the ways that they just
right. I feel satisfied after a good meal.
And like that I think that bumps me out the most, is I've never experienced that before.
Do we want to go into some favorite parts?
Sure. We could do that.
Didn't you already say yours?
I said mine.
Okay, Tyler said his.
The discount part, the discount meat in the food battle was. I just found that hilarious.
Legit. Mine's easy. About 8 minutes into the first episode, him and his dad have a cooking challenge, and the dad cooks really good food, and Selma makes like something awful, and they like eat it, and they're just like, they keep eating it, and they're like, oh, this is disgusting, it's like one of the worst things we've ever cooked, like at least bottom 10, and his dad's like, no, this is like bottom 2 most disgusting thing we've ever eaten. So like all their experiments don't always turn out to be like amazing food, but like, you know, the 1 in 10 dud is like, you know, it just keeps things interesting, because they're like, yeah, this is terrible. Like, so
I guess we do have similar favorite parts.
Oh,
my favorite parts is every time that he cooks something bad and he forces somebody else to eat it. He's like, you should try this, it's really good, or like, this is my new experiment, and everybody's like, oh yay, and he eats it, and he's like, oh yeah, that one was bad. Sorry about that.
Usually involving squid for some reason. That's like his
favorite.
He wants to make a great squid dish.
Yeah, he like keeps making like these squid things, and he like feeds it to Megumi, and she like wakes up after a night of eating his squid and is just like, I'm worn out.
I can't do it anymore.
Like, I can't do it anymore. The squid's disgusting.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Great show.
Amazing show.
Happy show. Great job.
Definitely recommend watching it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot to watch too, so you can get a good start before the next season comes out.
Hi.
Okay. Is there
anything else we want to touch on?
No, I got sucked, man. I mean, I started the show.
I'm not talking about what you did last night.
Hey, good dog.
I'm talking about
good dog. No,
I'm talking about the show.
No, I got sucked into the show. Like, I started it.
Gotcha.
I started it at 1 in the morning and watched it until 5:30, and I was expecting to watch one episode. So I got sucked. My bad. Anybody listening that was hanging out with me last night, please don't. That's the truth. So.
Okay.
This has been General Nerdcast.
This is General Nerdcast. We're not
General
talking
Review
about
Cast
things.
episode. I think we talked too much fan service in case you got sucked.
My bad. Actually, I gotta go to the bathroom real quick.
Yeah.
So.
Man. So yeah, episode 67.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions, comments, concerns about anything we just talked about? If there's a show, anime, really, really cheap game / free game you want us to talk about, let us know. We'll get on it.
Yeah.
Destiny 2. I'm pretty sure all 3 of us are getting it.
Yeah, we're all getting it. We can do touch reviews on
eventually. Yeah, we could actually just touch up on it like
with
every episode.
Every review cast. Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. Every review cast, we're gonna give you an review in progress until we feel like we have a full fair verdict, and then we'll give it to you then. While we do other things as well, because suck it.
Yeah,
we can do whatever the fuck we want.
We're not stuck on just one thing.
Bam.
We do lots of things.
Bam. Oh, he said that. Bam.
Bam.
Anyway,
what did I do?
If you have any questions, comments, concerns, you get a hold of us at generalnerdcast@gmail.com. We have a Facebook. It's a General Nerdcast. Twitter is the same thing. We also have a Patreon page. which is patreon.com/generalnerdcast. There's a theme here, in case you guys weren't wondering.
What?
We're wondering.
Wondering?
Fuck wondering.
Anyway, barbecue chicken.
Barbecue
No.
chicken.
God, that sounds good. If you want to help us grow the show and help us get better stuff, do better things, do more stuff, more things, you can go to patreon.com/generalnerdcast and help us out there. If there's anything you want to see on our Patreon page that you feel like would make you want to give us money, let me know, and I'll make that happen for you.
You can also watch us on YouTube, like, subscribe, rate us on iTunes and Google Play. It'll help out enormously. And just give us suggestions for anything you guys would like to see us do.
Please,
or
we
review.
will. I'll watch a terrible show if somebody wants to see us review it. So
Yeah.
Speaking of that, we already have the one for 2 weeks in advance, so
ready.
if you have another one after that, because Tyler hates us and he wants us to watch the terrible Death Note movie.
Yes.
So if you want to know how we feel about that in 2 weeks,
We
it's gonna be
need
a good, it's
tuned.
actually going to be a good review. 'cause
we need
it's
a
terrible.
horrible experience.
I guess that's true.
I'm gonna waste 2
Oh,
hours.
that
of
was
my
one
life.
thing I did want to say about Food Wars is I think one of the lessons it teaches is that you should be able to learn from mistakes.
Yeah, they
Aw.
actually bring that up.
Yeah, like near the end of the first season and like throughout the whole thing, like mistakes are where you are never like oh, I screwed up, I need to stop, I need to end it. Like you should be able to learn from your mistakes and move forward. That is one of the biggest ways you can learn.
This show's deep.
Shit just got real in here.
I just thought that was cool.
Yes.
But yeah. So
Where are we at? If you're listening to us in the morning, have a great morning, great rest of your day. If you're listening to us in the afternoon, hope you had a great afternoon nap and great morning
Ooh,
breakfast.
Afternoon nap.
nice.
That sounds
If
amazing.
you're listening evening, dessert, sweet treats, great ears. If you're listening night, go have sleep.
Yeah, don't. You can listen to us before food this episode, I think, because it'll just make you hungry.
Yeah.
True.
Food Wars.
Food Wars,
Watch
bitch.
Food Wars during all of your eating times.
Yeah, because then you won't be hungry while you watch it.
Yeah.
If
Or it
you're,
won't make you hungry.
if you're listening to us while you're sleeping, like that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's all.
We'll be in your dreams and shit.
I'd be okay with that. I'll cook you.
We're ending the show. This is done.
Smooches.